hardest part is figuring out what you want to master.
Focus on your product.
Can you tell somebody that they suck?
You got to just go, this is exactly what I want to do for a living.
You can't even tell somebody that their breath is life.
How we looking, team?
Good to go on video.
Good? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here today with the real Rick Ross, not to be confused
No doubt.
with the faker.
There is a fake one.
There is a fake one. And you want to know what? I'm not
There's
even...
an imposter. Be on the lookout. Be careful.
Yes.
He will scam you.
He may have already without you knowing it. He might have scammed you on iTunes. So we won't even get into that. I know that story, and I'm sure you've told it a trillion times.
Too many.
Yeah, so I won't bore you with that. But I really just want to, I've seen your documentary. I've listened to podcasts that you're on. I'm obviously, I think, as well as millions of other people, fascinated by your story and your journey and what you've been through and what you've learned.
And what I'm going through right now.
Yeah.
Right now is an interesting time,
What's happening right now?
Oh my goodness, we just come from Atlanta. We're breaking an artist right now with no money.
Really?
Yeah.
You have an artist?
Literally.
Wow.
We're doing it the old-fashioned way.
Yep.
And I did a lot when I was in prison. I did a lot of studying on just guerrilla marketing. Now, when I was in jail, the internet was still just starting to pop. I remember when Zuckerberg had 25,000 followers. I'm reading in the newspaper.
Yeah.
He had 25,000 people on Facebook. What was the other one? Was it Friendsters or MySpace?
MySpace.
Yeah, because I used to read all those articles. I was just so fascinated with this internet stuff because I never saw it.
Yeah. And
to be in there and then the Wall Street Journal and the Business Daily, all these papers are talking about this internet stuff. So I was really up on it as far as knowing where it was going and whatnot. But
did that all pretty much happen while you were in prison?
I watched it. Just sitting sitting in jail and reading about it every day and imagining, what was taking place and stuff like that. One time they had me as the first inmate to have a social media website.
Really?
I started a social media because I saw it and I was like, man, I better get in on this.
And that was while you were still in?
Yeah, I was still in.
That's great. And does it feel like you were just like waiting to, like the moment, because I know you're a hustler at heart, right? And I'm sure that as you're watching all this stuff, you're watching all the things that you could do and how you could get in on the action. Like,
absolutely.
The moment you get out, are you like, okay, let's go?
Yeah, I couldn't wait.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait. I was putting my team together even in prison.
Yeah.
I had me a nice little team.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Not the way I would have wanted it, but we got a lot of stuff done. You know. So just reading all those books and studying and like right now I'm just now starting to read books about how to use Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and so forth. But while I was in jail, I studied guerrilla marketing.
Yep.
What I found out is that I've always been a guerrilla marketer.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, right? You probably just saw yourself in there.
Yeah. So I was like, it's to me it's like really really strange because I've dealt with a lot of artists since I've been home. Maybe 3,000 or 4,000. One time we had a website, Freeway Enterprise. We had a couple 100,000 people that was coming through. Every other day or so. It was ranked 70,000, I think.
Jesus.
In the United States.
Yeah.
And so I dealt with a lot of artists and I kept just like trying to tell them like, you don't need no label, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to have a label, but you can do this without a label.
Yeah.
If you put in the work.
Yep.
And most people just they don't want to do the work.
Yeah. That's what's so interesting about it is it's really created this like anyone can do it thing. Like it's really taken down so many of the barriers of.
Oh yeah, the internet's been such a game changer.
Yeah.
Man.
But the problem is anyone can do it, right? So like you have to get
so it makes
through
the
all the
competition really clear, really cloudy.
Yeah.
When you even when you go to the labels, and try to get a deal, the first thing they're gonna ask you is how many followers you got on social media, how many YouTube views you got, and And I remember when I first got home, I hooked up with this guy named YB, and he had this song out called "We Run L.A."
Yep.
And it was all over the radio, everywhere. You
Yeah,
know, it was
yeah.
like, I forgot, he had like 40 million views
Yeah.
or something like that. And,
Yeah.
and he wanted to get a deal, so he asked me if I would take him into a couple places, and we took him in, and they were like, "Oh yeah, but you're a one-hit wonder.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, do it again."
Yeah. And he's been doing it for so long. He's a good friend of ours. And,
Oh, is
and
he?
Yeah, yeah. He's Rich Rocka now. Is his?
He changed his name.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And he's still putting out like really good music. You know, what I mean? He's been up
he
to it for a
he
long
was,
time.
He was.
So then, with your artist, are you mainly doing? That's mainly your strategy. Like you're just trying to get the internet thing down and the social media.
Well,
thing
no, we're gonna do the internet. And my main thing, I believe that the guerrilla marketing is really the most important, because
Yeah.
that's the part that's gonna last. You know, I believe that when you touch people,
Yeah.
you know, they feel differently about you than they do about somebody that they have absolutely no ties to.
Yeah.
They may like them, you know, because they hear them on the radio.
Yeah.
But if you actually touch them and make them feel that they are a part of you and that you're a part of them, it's a difference, you know.
For sure.
Your hotness will continue
Yeah.
no matter what happens. You know, you don't have to have a hit record before, you know, people were gonna come out and support.
Yeah, it's true. That's why there's so many artists now with these like crazy cult followings that you or I have maybe never even heard their music, right? But they can
Exactly.
sell out venues, and they can, you know, because like they're, I think, and even to our point, right before we started recording, you said that you're thinking about starting a podcast, and like that's what's so valuable about podcasting is it gives you time and space to like connect with people deeper than like
Right.
posting an Instagram pic,
Right,
Because
right.
if they'll tune in and listen to you talk for an hour every week or however often you're putting these things out, like they just feel like they really know you. They know how you think. They know, you know what I
Right.
mean? Your personality.
Right, that's my man.
Yeah, and
You
that's
know,
so much
like,
more valuable.
I get that so often, you know, when on my feeds and whatnot, and they be like, "You my man, you,
Yeah.
my uncle," you know.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I think would give an artist or anybody staying power. You know, where you're gonna be relevant for 50, 60 years.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah.
I remember I read an article on Tupac, and they was talking about how when Tupac was just starting to make his headwaves, he would perform and then go in the audience and drink beer with the audience and root for the other artists on the stage, you
Yeah.
know. And nowadays, you know, you go to these shows and these guys, they so cocky that they'll perform, and as soon as they perform, they walk straight out the
They're
door.
out.
You know, they
Yeah,
don't take a
security.
picture.
And, yeah.
Yeah, you know, keeping everybody off of, don't touch him, don't touch him.
Yeah.
You know, like somebody's gonna grab him and eat him up. And kidnap
Yeah,
him.
run off with him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what works, man. If you can make people feel that way, you know, I think it's so much more valuable than that one hit song that maybe they don't relate to.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and then if you do that, you do that, and then on top of that, you make some great music.
Yeah.
I mean, the game's over. You
Yep.
know, you take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah,
So,
that's the formula.
so we just been like hitting every club that let us in. You
Yep.
know, if you let us come in, we're gonna come in. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna turn up.
Yeah.
And you know, my man, he just gets down when you give him that microphone. He goes.
Yeah.
You know, I like it too. You know, because
Yep.
that's how I am. I don't like to talk. You know, I don't like to
Mhm.
to you know, say what I'm gonna do. I like to go and just take action. You
Yep.
know, immediately get going, man.
That's
Let's rock
right.
and roll.
Yeah, that's the way to be.
Yeah.
And what about when you're out and about, like doing these club gigs and stuff? You personally, like, do people? Is it just nothing but love? Like a lot of people, I'm guessing, probably
Unbelievable.
respect you a lot, and
Unbelievable.
yeah,
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to be me to understand.
yeah, that has to be a good feeling after all you've been through.
I'm on cloud 9
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I just like walk around and be like, I mean, it's crazy, you know. Just the other day we was down at City Hall and my boy, man, it was like 6 or 7 people came up. And my boy was like, "Man, you might well just run for the mayor, man."
yeah. Feels like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just like crazy, man. That people really respect me and tell me how much they appreciate me changing and keep doing the good work.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, wow, man, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's that power. That's the power of connection, man. I think people really because, I think a lot of people respect, everything that you've done and the legend of your hustling days and that sort of thing. But also you're so open and honest about how you've changed and about reading in prison and about, you know what I mean? Like, I think people really connect with that more than just.
And too, it's been so much fake, I mean, if you look at society right now, they have been selling, Hollywood's been selling, and that's where most people get their information from, Hollywood.
Yeah.
The majority of the world gets the information from Hollywood. So if you look at it, Hollywood's been selling this BS for so long, fairy tales, make-believes, fantasies, so long that people are tired of it.
Yep.
They're like, when we gonna get some real stories?
Yeah.
Some real heroes, some people who really lived. When I was in prison, this professor, I can't think of his name, but he was from UCLA. He had started to come and visit me in prison, and one of the things that he said that he would tell his students when they asked him, "How do you start writing a script?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, what I would tell you to do, take a couple weeks off school, get you a couple cases of beer, go out and fucking live."
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true, man.
If you don't live, then you can't tell any stories.
Yep.
The only thing you can do is go by what somebody else told you.
Yeah.
And it's nothing like actually getting out there and living it and doing it and just just enjoying it.
Yeah, I agree. So I want to go through your story real quick. Like I said, I know that there's documentaries and there's a lot of stuff out, but I just had like some other questions and I just wanted to kind of wrap my head around what it felt like for you. You know what I mean? Like, so you grew up out here, right? In South Central?
South Central.
Got it. And then
still in South Central.
You still live there?
Yeah, I still live there. That's where I just come from.
Nice. It's a beautiful place. Right? LA is the best.
I wouldn't want to be nowhere else.
No, I'm
Paradise.
the same way. Yeah. And growing up, when you were young, you weren't in trouble. You were played tennis. Is that right?
I played tennis. I wouldn't say that I didn't do nothing wrong.
Yeah. Can you tell me what did life look like for you in like your early teenage years and when you were super young? Like, are you just going out and playing all the time? Is that how does that look?
I thought sports was going to be my my vehicle for taking care of myself and my family. So I worked hard at sports.
Yep.
As hard as I knew how to work, I really didn't understand the things that they're doing now. Totally advanced. Like coaches, people teaching you how to run.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but when I was coming up, we didn't really have that. You just ran.
It's just go faster.
No technique, nothing. You just catch a football, right?
Yeah.
They show you how to catch a football, and I thought that would be my way out of the ghetto.
Yep.
I had never really taken to school too much. Wasn't good in school at all. Math, I was good in math. But I wasn't good in reading and writing. So I thought that sports would be my way out. High school, I started playing tennis. Did pretty good at it, made all city.
Yeah. And how tennis? How'd that come about?
That's a long story.
Yeah.
We were at the park one day playing roller derby and on the tennis courts, because the tennis courts are good for skates.
Yeah. I was used to skateboard. I grew up skateboarding.
And
I would always use the tennis courts for skateboarding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Everything but tennis.
Wonderful feeling.
Yeah. It is.
Well, that's the same thing we felt when we started roller derby, and we would go there and we would run into the nets and go up under the nets and get knocked over the net and just wilding out. Just young kids wilding out, having fun. And one day we were there and this guy came up and he was like, "I bet you bad boys can't hit that ball in the box." And man,
that was it.
He bet us a quarter, and boy, we was out there trying to hit the ball in the box. We wanted that quarter bad. So eventually we fell in love with the game, and it became my potential way out of the hood.
Yeah. And was it just you and like a few friends? How many people like really got into it in your neighborhood?
my whole neighborhood eventually started, like just messing around. A bunch of people in our neighborhood started messing around.
Got it.
Most didn't pursue it the way about 10 or 12 of us did.
Got it. And then were you the best?
No, not by a long shot.
Really?
No, we had Larry Barnett, man. Larry Barnett. In my 11th grade year, me and him was best friends. That was my best friend. Wound up going to UC Santa Barbara. Played number 1 at UC Santa Barbara.
Wow.
The first year that he was at Santa Barbara, he called VJ Amatros. I don't know if you know who VJ Amatros is.
No, I don't.
VJ Amatros was number 1 in the world.
Really?
And he had got sick for a couple months, and when he came back, Larry caught him coming off that sickness and got him.
Really?
So he beat the number 1 guy in the world.
Wow.
So Larry was by far that I know. But then I found now that I'm hanging out with Troy Collins, who's teaching my kids how to play.
Yep.
He's also teaching Pete Sampras' son how to play.
Yeah.
Well, Troy told me that before him and Larry had got out of college, that he had started beating up on Larry. So I don't know how true it is, but he was telling me that. And I know that Troy, when he graduated from college, I think he was like 4 in the country.
Wow. So they were really...
They were really good.
Really
were
good.
really good. And I know I beat Troy, and I may have beaten Larry 1 or 2 times, but not, he could just win the points that he needed. Whenever he needed a point from me, he could get them. And then I beat Lawrence King, who at one time was by far the best black player other than Arthur Ashe in the world.
Yeah.
I beat him one day.
Yeah.
But those were kind of like victories where you like, you just been thinking about this guy, and then the opportunity comes.
Yeah.
And then with him, he's probably like, this little Rick.
Yeah.
Because I was still in high school, and he was on the circuit.
Got it.
And he probably was, just like, was laxing one day, and might have been smoking some weed.
Yeah.
Because, he was smoking weed back in the 70s.
Yeah.
So he probably would have been smoking a little bit and
Listen, as long as you got the win under your belt, as long as you got the story.
Yeah, that's my greatest win.
Yeah,
I never
good.
forget that day. And
was that the first thing you became like obsessed with? Like this is
that
my
was
thing.
My first really obsession was tennis.
And did your work ethic? Is that when your work ethic like started to show?
Yeah. I really started learning work ethic from those guys. I had learned some work ethic I had uncles in the South too, who hauled hay and puckwood, and they did some grueling jobs.
Yep.
And I would go down in the summer and work with them. But I really believe tennis taught me that you got to do 3-4 hours a day. You got to be on the court. You got to run. You got to do this. So I do believe that tennis definitely affected me in a way that nothing else had.
Yeah, because I also feel like when you're young and you find that first true like thing, that first true love, it also helps build your like confidence or your identity. Like, did you feel that at that age? Like, this
absolutely.
is something
tennis was something that I identified myself with.
Yeah.
I was a tennis player.
Yep.
I was going to be a special tennis player. I was going to be great. It's just that when you're young and you don't have all of the knowledge that you need, you know, and that's really what's affecting us right now as a society, is that we don't take the knowledge or we don't pursue the knowledge or go after the knowledge that's needed to get us to a place that we want to be, you know, where you serene, like life is great, you know, and it's there for us, it's just a matter of us reaching out and saying, you know what, the way life is right now, I'm happy with it.
Yeah. It's so weird because sometimes it feels like right now there's more information available than ever, but it feels like people are not taking it.
No, they don't take it. They don't take advantage of it. I mean, I'm like shocked, right? That we have Google and these people don't use Google. I mean, you can ask Google down there anything. Man.
Anything.
I mean, I trip off of all of the things that people can ask Google to do, and Google does it.
Yeah. Anything.
Anything.
Not to mention
man.
like all the podcasts and all the YouTube videos, and like if you want to, you can learn almost anything on the internet. You know,
it's nothing really that's holding you back except yourself. You know, you have to make up your mind and figure out what it is first that you want in life, because most people don't know what they want in life.
Yeah.
You know, they think they know, but they don't really know.
Or they want to be rich.
Which
isn't a thing, right? You know what I mean? Like that's the thing I see the most.
Right.
Is because I agree with you 100%, but the thing I see the most is like, oh yeah, I want to be rich or I want to be famous.
Yeah.
And it's like that's not a.
Well, how do I get that?
Yeah.
Without the work.
Yeah.
No work, no fame.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I was coming up, I mean, I felt cool. You know, I felt like I was in the perfect. You know, when you're in an environment. As a person, you're in an environment and you believe that environment is just the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of times that's what happens. You know, we get in environments and we feel that this environment is the whole world.
Yeah.
You know, the whole world functions the same way, and until you go other places and see people function in different fashions, then it's hard to understand that there's places that are totally different.
100%. That's why it's so easy to get trapped in where you come from. I mean, even where I come from is like just small town in Ohio, and it has that small town thing where you marry someone from your high school, you get a job somewhere close by, and you know, and not that for some people that's great and that's the life that they want and they're perfectly happy, but there's a lot of people that I've seen that kind of get miserable or get upset as they get older because they always feel like they should have done more or they should have, you know, but they don't even know what more is.
Well, you know, I wrestle with sometimes, you know, because I got a brother and he's just cool.
Yeah.
You know, like he got a TV set.
Yeah.
Place to lay his head.
A lot of people are like that.
He's cool. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, I want it all.
Yeah.
You know, I want everything, man.
Yeah.
If I can get the helicopter, I want that. I want an airplane. I want the house on the hill. Matter of fact, I want a house in every city.
Yep.
You know, I'm just driven like that. You know, I don't want to settle. And sometimes I wonder, like, why can't you just settle? You know, why can't you just stop it? You know, why do you have
to turn it off even?
Yeah, why do you have to keep on grinding every single day?
Yeah.
You know,
it's just in you, man. There's nothing
thinking
you can do.
about new ways and new avenues.
Yeah.
But I guess, you know, that's the way it is, and that's what I like.
That's it. And then what about how come? Why did tennis end? Why didn't that keep going?
Well, when it was time to graduate from high school, it was discovered that I couldn't read or write. My coach had been getting the teachers to get me through, and
they got you through because you were good at tennis and. Got it.
Yeah, and they needed me on the tennis team.
Yep, gotcha.
You know, it takes 5 people to win a match. Yep. So they needed 5 good people. So my coach would always go to the teachers and get them to help me through.
Got it.
So when it was time to graduate, it was discovered that I couldn't read or write. I shouldn't have been in the 12th grade. No way.
Yeah.
You know, going by my reading skills and my writing skills. So when it was time to go to college, the colleges were like, you can't come here.
Yeah.
You know, so I found myself literally shut out of tennis now.
Got it. And it just, so that's like a pretty abrupt end, right?
Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah,
it's like, you know, like you died.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah. That's like you're losing your first love. So then
heartbroken.
Heartbroken. So then what did you, is that when you turned to?
The streets.
The streets.
Yeah.
And at the time, did it feel like that's just the next available option? Like, what did that?
I didn't know. I didn't know I was going to the streets.
Yeah.
I didn't think I was going to the streets. I thought I was just gonna go to my mom's house. It was gonna take a few weeks. I was gonna get me a job at one of the factories. You know, maybe Todd Shipyard or. One of the metal places,
you
know, Bethlehem Steel or something, and you know, just work, get me a nice car, and live happily ever after. You know, stay in my mom's garage, and just be cool.
Didn't go that way.
No.
So then, what was the first thing that like pulled you in, and how did it? I guess my question is, like, if that was kind of your game plan, was that more like normal route? What sucked you in about the first things you started doing?
I'm back in my neighborhood. I'm hanging out with my homies who I went to junior high school with and elementary. And at this time, L.A. was into the lowriding scene, heavy. So they invited me to come down to the lowriders, hop with them, you know, at Church's Chicken. They didn't go down there till like 11 o'clock at night, and they would hang out till 3, 4 in the morning, and people would just be out drinking, smoking weed, partying, girls everywhere, and the prettiest cars you ever wanted to see. So I go to that, and I was like, wow, look at that car. You know, look at that car. Look at that chick.
That's where it all starts.
Is this kind of chicks go with them kind of cars? I want one of them. So I started asking all the guys, man, how did you get that car? You know, I didn't know how much they cost. I didn't know nothing about it. I didn't know what made them go up and down. I knew nothing. But I was determined to find out. And I ran into Dirty Benny, and Dirty Benny was like, come on, you can start working with me. I started stealing cars with Dirty Benny for a few months. When Benny went to jail, I took over his operation and had my own chop shop. I had my own chop shop at 18 years old.
Wow.
Yep.
And what's that? Are you actually going out physically stealing the cars, then you bring them back, you learned how to strip them down and do all that?
Yep, take everything off of them.
Man. You're like determination and ingenuity. You know, it seems like you can kind of figure, if you like something, you can.
I can figure it out. And that's like with almost anything, you know. I don't care what it is that I go into. If I like it, I'm gonna figure out how to get to the top.
And when you started with the car stuff, did it kind of put you into a life that you enjoyed? Like, did you feel a part of a group? Did you feel?
Oh, I love low riding. You know, I bought my first car was $100. I bought
$100.
66 convertible. I wish I still had that car today. That car's probably worth about $100,000.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
That's a gem.
I lost control.
I wish they were still $100.
Yeah, man. And what happened is I started putting my heart and soul into that car. You know, everything that I stole, I would put it in the car, put it into the car. So eventually they raided my shop. And the cops raided my shop, took us to jail, and I was looking at 21 years in prison.
Wow. And was that at 18, 19?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
So
and what happened there?
So I had to quit stealing cars because I couldn't steal cars no more with a case pending. So I wound up beating the case for illegal search and seizure, but I started selling drugs right before I beat the case, you know, to help pay the lawyer. And, you know, my partner had brought by and hooked me up. And so I started selling, and I wound up getting a really good lawyer, and we beat the case. And that's when I'm full-fledged in the dope game.
And what was the first, was it straight to cocaine? What was the first drugs you were selling?
Cocaine.
Yeah,
I didn't have what they say the entry.
Like got a little bit of weed or like.
I didn't go to entry level. You know, I like went straight to the hard stuff. Man. Give me that hard.
And how did that come about? Similar, like somebody was doing it around you, and you're like, "What's this?"
My homie, my big homie. You know, he was doing it. I you know, he was like my big brother and somebody I looked up to, and I didn't see it make him go crazy, and his brain wasn't fried, and you know, his skin didn't crinkle up and none of that. You know, I was like, oh, so the stuff they've been saying on TV might not be true.
Right. And then, because were you also using it or no?
Only for about a week, maybe a week and a half. I had a very, very short time of using.
Because it didn't go well?
It didn't go well with me. When I was snorting and it was draining in my throat, and I was like, oh, man, I got a cold.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably good. I mean, that's probably what allowed you to even
It would have, because
level,
at that
right?
time, really all you needed to do was not use.
And did you have a problem with that with the people around you, even like the people that you were working with and that were working for you? Like,
absolutely.
Would you lose people to that?
Absolutely, they loved it. They
And-
love the cocaine more than they like money.
Yeah. I guess that's when it all turns, right? Like when you start loving the actual drug more than the.
Yeah, you like to be high.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to be high? Somebody gonna sell it to you.
Yeah. And then, like I said, you told the story a million times, and it's told very well. But my question is, how do you go from just starting to sell drugs because people around you are doing it, you got to pay for some lawyers, to $3 million a day,
gradually,
$1 billion, and I mean, what you did, like equivalent to close to $3 billion, and
yeah, or more maybe. I mean, you figure the prosecutor only really concentrate on my best 2 years of selling drugs is what they tried to go by.
What years was that?
From 84 to 86.
Got it. But so my question is like, why you? Why were you the biggest? What was the difference? Like, what did you?
I don't know if I was the biggest. Nobody really kept records.
Yeah.
On that. I know I did well for myself. I was happy with who I was.
Yeah.
I wasn't really trying to gauge what nobody else was doing.
Yeah.
I was mainly focused on what was good for me and my family.
Yeah.
So that was my gauge. We wasn't missing any meals. Nobody car was getting repoed. No lights was getting cut off. So we were doing really well.
Yeah. And how did you? Because you weren't crazy flashy, or were you?
I wasn't, and that's what happened to my lowrider.
What happened?
I've been building this lowrider, and this lowrider was going to be super flashy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the whole bottom chromed.
Jesus.
I chromed the whole bottom of the car, all of the rear end, the A-arms, the motor pieces, everything was. I was putting my heart and soul into this car. I was call myself building a show car. So when I thought about it, I was like, man, you've been making a lot of money stealing cars.
Yeah.
You're making like $300, $400 a day profit.
Yeah.
And this is in 70 something.
Yeah.
When I don't even know what the average person made on a salary in the 70s, but my mom's house only cost $15,000 at that time.
Yep.
So here I am making $400 a day and don't know where the money's going.
Yeah.
So what I did is when I started selling drugs, I said, you know what? I'm going to take that low ride. I'm going to take it to the junkyard, and I'm going to have them to smash it.
Really?
They got this big old thing, this big metal thing that comes down, and they smash the cars into like a pancake. And I took my car there, and I put it on that belt, and I watched it.
You watched it? Oh, no. And that was because you're saying because it was like a money pit. Is that what you're saying?
It was, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and it almost sent me to prison, and I was in love with that car.
Yeah.
Like that car was like my identity. My mom had really, it had messed her up, right? Because she was hearing that I was messing with drugs, I believe. She never said nothing to me really about it. But one time I'm in the backyard and I'm taking my rims off to sell them. And she must have thought that I was selling to get some dope to use. But I was selling them to get some dope to make a bigger dope sack.
Yeah. So did she like come out? What did she do?
Yeah, she was like, what you doing taking them wheels off that car? Like, it's my car. These are my wheels. I bought them with my own money.
Yeah.
And I could feel her concern and like if a mom see their son, they taking the jacket off to sell it, and they like, the hell you selling that jacket for?
Yeah.
You need money that bad? Like,
yeah.
I had a pocket full of money, but she didn't know. At that time I probably had $8,000 or $9,000, but she didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because I was still trying to build up my nest egg, and those wheels were gonna help me get there, and they wasn't gonna be no good because I wasn't driving that car no more.
Yeah.
I was smashing that mentality.
Yeah.
That mentality of hustling to earn material things that are not going to give you any dividends back.
Yeah. That's just insane that at that age, making that much money, and especially in the drug game, that you had that presence of mind. You know what I mean? It just seems like everyone, first of all, anyone at that age making money, no matter how they were making it, would be buying Lamborghinis and Ferraris and wanting everyone to know that they were the richest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of that happens in that business because you want to, you're playing the ego game over the next guy, right? But like to have that presence of mind, would you say that was the main thing because you knew that that's not where happiness comes from, or because you knew that that was how you get caught, or like, what would you say was the main motivation behind
It probably was a combination, like I said, with the lowrider.
Yeah.
I would go out and steal all night, and then the next day I'm broke, you know? So it was like, understand that if you don't put this money in the right place, pretty soon, the money's no longer going to be there. And
so you were putting your money in a lot of real estate and investments and stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, I felt that I wanted to buy businesses that not only that I could work at myself, but also my family and my friends, would have a place where they could get a job, where they wouldn't have to be, begging nobody else to hire them.
Yeah. And that worked. That's how it went for a while.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I had quite a few businesses, I should do construction while I was building apartment buildings. I probably built about 20, maybe 30 houses and apartment buildings in LA.
Wow.
Before I went to prison, I had a junkyard. I had a tire and wheel and alarm and phone shop, car wash, a tennis shoe store, beauty salon. I mean, I was a serial motel. I was a serial entrepreneur. I love it. I still love it today. Like right now, I'm reading books to further my knowledge about the internet. Yeah. And one of the things that I learned while I was in prison is that anything that you want to know, they got a book that was wrote in that field. So I'm studying the internet right now.
Yeah. You're gonna be a master of it. Did you?
I hope so.
I think so, man. I mean, look at how much even number one, you can tell by the way your personality is that, like I said, when you like something, you master it, and then I think just the amount that you've already changed and soaked in all this information, and you've already lived 7 different lives, it seems like.
Yeah, man. Everybody say that, man, you've been around a long time.
Yeah.
And you've done a lot, and it's amazing, man. I just got from Paris 3-4 weeks ago, man, modeling, some clothes, for a company named Fresh Jive. I don't know if you.
I do, yeah. I know.
You know
of
Rick?
Course, yeah. I don't know him well, but I know who he is. That company's huge.
Yeah. So he took me to France and gave me a check. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He also, he's the guy that invented my T-shirt. The real Rick Ross is not a rapper. A lot of people don't know that, but he heard me on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yep.
And I was telling Joe, man, Joe, I'm doing bad, Joe.
Yeah.
Joe, I'm doing bad. And Joe was like, oh, Rick, you know what you need to do? You need to do a T-shirt. And I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
A T-shirt?
Yeah.
All the money you got, give me a hand,
Yeah.
And then I left his show and boom, I bump into Rick, man. And Rick was like, man, I got an idea for you.
Wow. Because he listened to the pod?
Yeah. I was like, what idea you got? He said, a T-shirt. I said, oh, man, a T-shirt.
Here we go again.
Yeah. And then when he told me what he thought the shirt should be named, the real Rick Ross is not a rapper.
Yeah.
I was like, that should sound corny.
But it worked.
It worked, man. We did that shirt. We went to back to Joe Rogan's podcast with the shirt, and I told Joe I had a shirt. He put the shirt on, and the next 3 or 4 days, my PayPal had $18,000, and it was
I'm sure.
Going there was the old dope days,
Yeah, just all at once, right? Yeah, his audience is just insane. It's so big. So did you if you had to say one, and I'm really asking this I would ask anyone who built any big business, what do you think if you could say there was one thing that differentiated you from everyone else that allowed you to get so big, was it staying low key? Was it your network?
I mean, low key is definitely a factor, but I would have to say the ability to make people believe that they are more important than you are.
And what do you mean?
Well, when people get the confidence in themselves, they'll go further and they'll do more.
Yeah.
So what I always did was I always try to push my guys in a position to where they could really like exercise their skills and really feel comfortable with doing it.
Yeah.
Or something somebody was saying the other day is that I make people better.
Yeah.
You know, I have a tendency to make them better.
Yeah.
Kind of like what they said about Michael Jordan, you know, with Scottie Pippen
For sure.
and Horace Grant and those guys, that he made them elevate their game. And that's kind of how, you know, I do with the people that I come in contact with.
Yep.
I force them to up their game some.
Yeah. That's really good. That's exactly what I was looking for, right? Because they're just no matter what it is, no matter what business, no matter what sport, no matter what, there has to be something unique that you're doing really well to get anything to that level.
No doubt.
You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree. And you know, to get your team motivated and feeling good about themselves,
Yep.
you know, sometimes you have to sit on the back burner.
Yeah.
You know, you have to let them go out front and really get it to where you want it.
Yep. And so you were doing, obviously, were you taking trips to Ohio and Cincinnati, every different state, or did you have people that did that? Or
in the end, I was. You
Got
know, in the beginning, we didn't really have to. A few times we had to go to Miami and get drugs, but we didn't have to go to nobody that we were selling to.
Yep.
They would literally come here.
Yeah.
But in the end, you know, we found out how much more valuable it was, you know, in those places. And in L.A., you know, the cops had started planting drugs and lying on search warrants. So it was like, wow, do we stay in L.A. where they lying on search warrants, they planting drugs, or do we go to a city where the drugs are more valuable, the police is going to be more honest, and the people who live in there are going to be more honest? So that's something that we had to address.
Got it. And at the max, what was the most amount of people that you had like reporting to you?
My direct guys that I paid every week,
Yeah.
probably like 40 guys.
40?
Yeah.
And then obviously they had their own network under them, or is that kind of how it worked, or no?
Well, they had people that they sold drugs to.
Got it. But not like employees under them?
No, some of them did, but not really.
Got it. 40 guys, that's a shit ton.
Yeah, that's a high number. You know, that's probably the most that we would have at any given time. But the operation had to have like 10 to 15 guys.
Yep.
You know, it was no way. It was hard to operate with less guys than that.
Yeah. And so then when you got arrested, was that the only time that you had ever got arrested for or charged with anything?
Other than the GTA.
Yeah. So you made it that long, and then the one time you got arrested was the one time.
Yeah, the 8 years. I went like 8 years, 8.5 years before I got busted.
And what finally happened? How did they finally catch on? Or
a couple guys that worked with me. We were in Cincinnati, and excuse me. My guy had me and my guy. I'd send the drugs to Cincinnati. I put him on the bus, you know, and I had a guy riding the bus. The guy that was riding the bus jumped off the bus, and we didn't know why. So we go down to catch the bag. To see if the bag was still gonna be good, because this bag had, I think it had 9 kilos in it.
Got it.
So it was gonna be, at that time, Cincinnati was about 45,000 a kilo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we go to the bus station to see if we could grab the bag, and when we get there, I dropped my beeper in the car. So I go back to the car to get my beeper. And my man go on into the bus station, and when I get back into the bus station, he got like 5 or 6 police officers around him, you know, undercover and everything.
Yep.
And they asking him questions, so I take off immediately.
Yeah.
And jump back in the car and shoot. After that happened, I'm doing everything I can to keep him out of jail.
Yeah.
I'm paying lawyers. I got him like 2 lawyers, a lawyer from Cincinnati, a lawyer from L.A., and he still get 20 years in prison.
Jesus.
So with that, I'm kind of like, wow, that was close. I was right there with him, you know, I could have got 20 years too.
Yeah.
You know, I should have got the 20 years. I should have been with him.
Yep.
And we knew that the cops had lied because he had never saw the bag. You know,
The cop hadn't.
my guy
the
hadn't.
guy hadn't.
My guy had never saw the bag. He was just riding with me. And they grabbed him and said that he reached for the bag or something. And I'm like, he ain't never saw the bag, so he couldn't have reached for it.
Yeah.
So I thought he had a out,
Yep.
you know, knowing that he didn't know what the bag looked like. But anyway, he got convicted, and that kind of threw me. So at that time, I had Cincinnati going too.
Yeah.
I was doing really good in Cincinnati. Yeah, I was making at that time probably like 35,000, 40,000 every day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in what we call cut ups,
Mm-hmm.
and I was getting kilos for like 9, 5, maybe 10 sometimes, and getting 45 for a kilo there.
Mm-hmm. So
you're talking about when I sold something, it was almost like all profit. You know,
Yeah.
I was making a profit margin that I had never seen before. But what I knew is that I had to let it cool off because something was going on with the way they had arrested my boy. You know, even though me and him hadn't talked, we stopped. He wouldn't call me when he went to jail. This dude here was like, man, one of the most stand-up dudes in the world.
Yeah.
I remember when they arrested me and took me to Cincinnati the first time, and that was the first time me and him had saw each other,
Mm-hmm.
and we were in the holding tanks, different holding tanks though. The room probably was about biggest from here, this wall to that wall, separate, but we could talk to each other and stuff. And I was sitting in the holding tank when the DA agent and the FBI agents and all of them came over to his cell, and they was telling him that this was his last chance. You know, they basically telling him, is you're going to tell on Rick today. You got to make your mind up today if you're going to do it or not.
Yeah. And you could hear that?
Yeah, I could hear it.
Yeah.
And I heard him say, get the fuck out of here.
Wow.
He said, get the fuck out of here. He had 20 years, you know, like, damn, man, 20 years. And, you know, he held his own. But yeah, we were going to different states.
Yep. And so when they arrested you, that was an undercover thing? That was they set you up with an undercover? Is that what happened or no?
The last time they did.
Yeah.
The last time they did. On that case there, they just they did what they call a secret indictment, where they indict you, and then whenever they catch the body, they'll unfold the indictment.
Got it. But on that one, was that the one where didn't end up getting anything on you, or was that all the same? Like when you ran into him in Cincinnati in the holding cell, did you get let off after that?
Mm-mm.
That was
guilty.
the one. Got it.
I pled guilty because of the crooked cops.
Yeah.
It was cops that had been planting drugs and lying on search warrants, and the cops that was doing all that had came to Cincinnati to work and help Cincinnati because they knew I was in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
They had found out I was in Cincinnati, and so they came down. I mean, you know, I mean, it's just common sense though. If Cincinnati's investigating this guy from L.A., they go to L.A. and ask L.A., you know, how do we deal with the guy? And oh, these cops, this is this task force. This is the Freeway task force. They know exactly how to deal with him.
Yeah.
I was under alias name, so I'm thinking, oh, they don't even know who I am.
Yeah.
But they had figured it out.
Got it. So then when you went to prison, did you find out about all the CIA stuff and all that? That was while you were in prison because of that article that, what's his name wrote? What was his name?
Gary Webb.
Gary, yeah. So he wrote that article, and that was the first you had really heard about?
Yeah, I didn't know about any CIA connection or none of that. Gary figured all that out.
Got it. So that was all news to you.
Totally.
And how did you feel when you read it? Like, were you like...
I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
How the me? CIA? Come on, buddy.
And then what happened? Did you talk to him? Like, how did you start to, like, wrap your head around that it was probably happening?
You know, I was always cool with Gary. I mean, Gary...
Oh, so you had known him?
Even though, he came to see me in prison, even if he was a whack. You know, I was like, even if he's a whack, he's cool as fuck.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I ain't gonna disrespect no cool dude.
Yeah.
And that's how our relationship was. It was like, nah, the CIA don't get on like that.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the CIA admitted that they knew that these guys were selling drugs that I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The CIA said it?
Yeah.
They said they knew that they operatives were selling drugs, and I was like, well, and then I'm studying conspiracies.
Yeah.
You know, that's my case: conspiracy to distribute, conspiracy to possess. So I'm reading, I'm saying, that's conspiracy.
Yeah. That's exactly what I'm in here for.
Yeah, I'm like, that's conspiracy.
Yeah. How nuts. That just must be a crazy feeling to like be a part of, I don't know, see that article come out and then it's like, what the hell? Like this thing was
you
so
know
much.
The craziest thing? Somebody knocked on my door and they was like, man, Bill Clinton just did an article and he talking about you.
What did he say in that article? Was he just talking about
I can't remember. It was talking about the CIA
Yeah.
and the allegations that was brought out by Gary Webb.
and it said your name in
and
it?
He mentioned my name.
Yeah.
And then the next day, the CIA director did the same thing. So it was like, what the fuck? I'm on the front page of the newspaper?
Yeah, that is nuts. And then I know that you started reading a lot in prison, which I'm guessing is partly responsible for your change and your, you know, this kind of growth that you went through.
Reading opened up my eyes to so much stuff, you know, that I had no clue about.
Did you learn to read in prison,
I
or
learned how to read in prison?
And how'd you do that? Just slowly, you like start
Slowly.
with one book? Yeah,
Slowly.
Yeah.
No, one of my friends made me some cue cards,
got it.
put my ABCs on there. He showed me how to sign them out, and a couple of weeks I was reading. It was
Yeah,
a piece of cake.
yeah. And then what were? Do you have any book? Do you have any top book, top two book, anything in prison that you still are like that's the one? What is it?
The books that everybody should be reading.
Tell me. Tell our listeners.
The world wants to know.
Yeah.
No, my favorite three books was, and I can't pick between which one is the best. You know,
Yeah.
I read all three of them like 25 times.
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich
Yeah.
by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
I'm cheating for y'all. As a Man Think by James Allen,
Yep.
or As a Woman Think.
Yep.
And The Richest Man in Babylon. Those are my favorite three books.
That's the only one I haven't read. The Richest Man in Babylon.
Oh, you got to read The Richest
read
Man
it.
in Babylon.
I've read the other two.
You know, my favorite story in that one is The Richest Man in Babylon. He's a slave.
Uh-huh.
And people teach him how to work. He says it has a thing in there where he said, make work your best friend.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your best friend. You want your best friend with you all the time.
Yeah.
You know, your best friend. You don't want your best friend to go nowhere. You know, you want to be right there with you.
Yep.
So what he was telling me was make work like that.
Yeah.
Take work with you everywhere you go. So,
Yep.
you know, I have a saying when I was in prison, I started in prison and people would come, I'd be in the library, they say, oh, you in your office? I was like, yep, I'm in my office. And then I'd be on the yard and they'd be like, what you doing? I'm in my office.
And that was just your reputation. That's what everyone knew you.
Yeah,
knew you were up to.
They knew I was taking care of business.
Yeah.
I had got so good that the whole penitentiary catered to me.
Really? Because you got good at what?
At doing business.
Yeah.
They all knew what I wanted. Like, they would bring me magazines, you know, about the record industry, about movies. I mean, just everything dealing with those lanes, they would get me those materials. They would bring me books. Like, if somebody's people would send them a book about the music business or the long tail or something like that, anything, they would bring those articles to me. They would bring the magazines to me. The Wall Street Journal, you know, I was in line for the Wall Street, because, you know, when dudes get newspapers, people get in line for it. Oh, I want to get it, I want to get it. So I would get in line for those newspapers, and it was just like people will literally help you accomplish your goals once they know that you're trying to accomplish something.
That's an incredible lesson too. Is like, because I feel like so many people, especially young people, like want someone to put them on the right path, or they want someone to give them the secret to, you know what I mean? And like, I always try to tell people, like, if you choose your path and you start working on it, people will help you, but
Absolutely.
They won't just come give you a path. You know what I mean? And then how long were you in prison for total?
20 years and 3 months.
Jeez. And you read your own you essentially got yourself out of.
I found the issue that got me out. Yes.
And that was from going through your whole indictment, going through everything, and going through the law and
the law books over and over. I would read law all day.
Yeah.
Before I won my case, I wasn't really studying much business. Mm-hmm. You know, I was reading those 3 books, Richest Man in Babylon, because The Richest Man in Babylon was the first book I got.
Yeah.
First
one, like, total
that I bought.
ever?
Yeah. It was the first book I bought. First book I ever read was Malcolm X.
Yep.
His autobiography by Alex Haley, and in that book I saw myself.
Yep.
And I was reading, I was like, I can be bigger than Malcolm X.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just started taking his ideas and adding my own little twists to what he was doing, and the reason I felt I could be bigger than Malcolm is because Malcolm was preaching religion, and I'm preaching economics.
Yep.
You know, money. So
everyone believes in that.
There ain't no question.
And
they're trying to get to heaven, but they want some money right now.
Yeah, yeah. And then so you, is that process you go through? Obviously, I'm doing this super fast version, but you go through the law books, you study your case, you file an appeal. Is that what happened?
Yeah, we filed an appeal.
And then you had a life sentence, but it got
2
reduced?
life sentences without the possibility of parole.
But you got it reduced to 20.
We got them reduced to 20.
Wow. And then how long until you found out you were going to get out until you actually got out? Was that a long delay or no?
No, well, they reversed my case, I think, in 2000, maybe 2001.
Got it.
I'm not for sure. And I wound up getting re-sentenced like 3.5 years later.
Yep.
Because the resentencing process is very slow. You know,
yeah, that
the
sucks.
judges take their time. And then I wound up getting out of prison in 2009.
Jeez, that's a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, a long time to like kind of know it's coming. I don't know. It's like, it seems like once you kind of know something's coming.
Well, you know what I did? I used it as preparation. You know, I used to look at being in prison as like a caterpillar. You know, when he's a caterpillar, he crawls on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
But when he goes in the cocoon, he comes out and he got big, beautiful wings, and now he can soar.
Yeah.
So I looked at it as if I was in the cocoon developing my wings, and once I develop, I would be able to fly.
Yeah. And you were just in there reading and
studying and writing letters. I used to get about 100 letters a week.
Really?
From people, on the street. So I had a writing team. You know, I had 3 or 4 guys.
Again with a staff.
I had to have my staff.
Yeah.
You can't do it alone.
It's so good.
You got to be crazy if you try to do it by yourself.
Yep. And then what do you do? Like, you know, you're in prison for 20 years. You're reading all this stuff. You're in your cocoon.
You can't exercise. You don't have anybody to exercise it with. I'm looking for somebody that I could just breathe on, all this information I got.
Yeah.
You know.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so the day you get out, are you just like you just have all this information, all this excitement? You go get an iPhone. Like, what do you do the first?
No, I don't get no iPhone. They had,
You're learning about the internet in there for hours.
They had Blackberries when I got out.
Got it. Yeah.
I don't think people was using the iPhone then.
No, 2009, maybe just barely. So either way, you go get your BlackBerry.
Oh, I love a BlackBerry, man. It was a 3-way. I was like, if they give me a 3-way phone, I can take over the world.
Just because having an additional person on the line.
Yeah, because, you know, see, in jail, what would happen is you can't make 3-way phone calls. So when you're calling, people lie to you. Mm-hmm. Oh, I got it. I'm going to go call him right now. I'm going to take care of that.
Yep.
And you call him back in 2 weeks. Man, I couldn't catch that guy. Yeah. Then you call the other guy. Hey, man, he said he can't catch you. Man, I've been here all week. Ain't nobody called me.
Yeah.
So it's like you like stuck in limbo, and you don't know who is who and who to believe. And,
I get it. And then what was your... So like when you got out and you're just kind of ready, I would just imagine ready to...
Explode, take over.
Put all this stuff to use, right?
Absolutely. I couldn't wait.
And I guess what I'm trying to say is like, what did you want to do?
Accomplish?
Yeah, what did you want to say? What did you want to do? Like, what was really that first thing in you that was like, when I get out, I got to do this?
I wanted to do some music. I thought music would be an easy path, but what wound up happening is with the rapper using my name, and with me filing a lawsuit against, you know, the top 3 record labels.
Yeah. You went straight to war, huh?
Yeah, I went to war with the top 3 record labels. It kind of like made the industry push against me.
Yeah.
You know, all the people who had clout, you know, was afraid to roll with me because I was suing their boss. You know, like, oh, you suing my boss. Like, before I filed a lawsuit, I had some friends they did Lady Gaga's videos and all that stuff.
Yeah. And
I was at Universal every day, you know, like just hanging out, talking about business and, you know, how we gonna get the label done, and they was feeding me and everything, you know, like it was all gravy. And then when the lawsuit hit, they was like, "Oh, you can't come up here anymore."
Yeah. That's funny. And did you ever talk to him? Did you talk to the rapper? And
nah, we never talked.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked when I was in prison, but not since I've been home.
Yep.
He don't want to talk to me.
I would imagine.
For some reason, I don't know why.
Well, you know, if you have kind of your whole thing, your whole.
But you know, when I look at it, I mean, if you had a hero, you know, it'd be like you had a chance to talk to your hero, somebody who you really like. I mean, I know you don't. I don't see any tattoos. Yeah, you got one tattoo.
I got a bunch.
Oh, you got a bunch of tattoos.
Yeah.
So you know, if you put somebody's tattoo, their name on you,
Yeah.
he means a lot to you.
Yeah, hero.
A hero.
Yeah.
So he tattooed my name on him. So I know that he had some type of admiration and love for me, that he wanted to probably express. But I believe that his people, his team, you know, got into his head and told him, you know, you can't do that. It illegitimizes you.
Yeah.
You know, if you talk to him, you're totally illegitimized, and he just didn't get it.
Yeah, I get that. And then what about? So you're doing also. You do a lot of speaking. You wrote. Tell me what the books. What's in the books? Like, what are you? What's your main goal as far as like taking what you've been through and teaching people how to use the skill sets, or is it more entrepreneur based?
Absolutely. Both of my books are entrepreneur based. That's all I know how to do is be an entrepreneur.
Yep.
This one here is my autobiography.
Nice.
And this one talks about how I looked at life as a kid, how I did it. You know, how I took $125 and turned it into $3 million a day. How I dealt with my friends, how I dealt with my customers. You know, I've been accused of this book being a better book on selling drugs.
Yeah, telling you how to do it better. You're saying?
That's what they say. Yeah. Some only a few people, not a lot. I mean, a lot
that's just
of people.
because it's so detailed and.
Well, I kept it raw.
Yeah.
You know, and they were saying, you know, people have said, well, why you make it so raw? And I felt that our kids have been lied to so much that if we don't tell the truth, they're not going to believe us. They're going to think, oh, some more of that BS coming up the pipe.
Yep.
You know, duck.
Yeah.
So I tried to write this book to be as truthful as I could remember.
Yeah.
And I believe that if people take this and use it, that they can get the same results I get.
Yep.
You know, in life. Now this book here, and this was not even a purposely written, man. This book here, when I was on my last year, this guy starts to write me from New York named Coley, and he's talking about putting me on the cover of his magazine. He got a magazine called Get Money, and he's like, well, man, I want to put you on the cover of Get Money. And I'm like, Get Money? I like that.
Right up my
alley. So I said, yeah, we can do that. And he's like, oh, I'm going to buy you a suit and I'm going to lay it out. So I go to New York with him. He fly me out to New York. We do the photo shoot. We do the magazine cover. It comes out. The magazine's cool. And then he says, man, I want to come in L.A. and hang out with you for about 6 months.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I ain't got no friends. You know what I'm saying? All my friends in jail.
Yeah. Come on out.
He comes out, and we start riding together. Every morning I get up at 6 or 5, whatever time I got up, he get up. When I go to bed, I drop him off at home at night. So one day we were riding. I think we was coming from, might have been Ori Emanuel's office.
Yep.
From William Morris Endeavor.
Yeah.
And And I look over and he's scratching on the same piece of paper that he's been scratching on for the whole time.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, what do you keep writing? You always writing on that pad.
Yeah.
And he was like, I've just been keeping the notes of the meetings and stuff. And I looked over, I said, you've been keeping notes of all these meetings? So everything that's been happening, you've been documenting it? And he said, yeah. I said, oh my God, that book is going to be crazy.
Yeah.
And that's how it came about.
That's so good. And this is the most recent one.
Yeah, that one just came out 2 weeks ago.
And did you self-publish both of these?
Both of them self-published.
Wow.
You know, I got to get all the money.
Yeah, you're a hustler.
No disrespect, Jeff Bezos.
That's too good. What would you, like, if you could go back in time to, let's say, Rick on the tennis court and tell yourself anything now after all you've been through, what do you think that you would say?
Well, you know, one of the things that I felt I was liking on the tennis court is the understanding of going the extra mile.
Mm-hmm.
You know, had I went probably just a little bit harder, I probably would have broke through.
In what? In tennis?
In tennis.
Yeah.
And that's what I didn't do when I started selling drugs.
Yeah.
I didn't take that break. I went all in. You know,
Yeah.
every single day. I went until I had that advantage.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key for anybody who's trying to get an advantage is to go hard, don't take breaks, don't relax, don't look for ease.
Yeah.
You know, just pound until you get that breakthrough. And if you keep pounding, you know that breakthrough's gonna come.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing that something like the education holding you back like steered the trajectory of your life in a different, you know what I mean? Where then when you went to prison and learned how to read, then you became a book fiend. Now you've written 2 books. You know
3
what I mean?
books.
3? There's a 3rd?
I got a novel out too.
Oh man, look at you. And that one's self-published too?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I studied self-publishing.
In
Because, you
prison?
know, I looked at it and I was like, well, you know what? What if Simon & Schuster don't want to sign your book?
Yeah. Yeah.
What you going to do?
There you go.
Self-publish.
Don't have to worry about it. That's too good. When's the podcast coming?
We working on it every day. You know, I just stole some ideas from you.
Yeah, take a listen. Anything you want. Any tips? Anything I got? I'll tell you all about it.
I see how your setup looks, and I'm like, wow, this is what I need to do here.
Yeah.
So I'm working on it. I stay in a 2-unit. I own 2-unit building, so I'm gonna turn the living room into my studio.
There you go. New studio.
Yeah. So I'll be looking for it in a few weeks, maybe 3 or 4 weeks.
You know what you're gonna call it yet?
Nope. I just got the idea what I want to do with it.
Yep.
I'm gonna probably blend like 2 or 3 things in together.
Yeah.
You know, and we'll be cooking on the show.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And eating and
Just try everything.
Yeah.
You know?
Just having fun.
Yeah.
You know.
As long as it's you, like we talked about in the very beginning, as long as it's you and people just get to know you and like you, you're set.
Yeah, and that's pretty much how I look at it as well, and that's what we're gonna do with it.
Yeah. Okay. Last but not least, where do people find you? What should they look out for? Where can people follow up?
They can get me at Freeway Ricky on Instagram, Twitter, Freeway Rick Ross on Facebook. You can get the books at my website, freewayrickyross.com. Also, you know, my car lot is on 112th and Figueroa. You can come by there, get a book, T-shirt, anytime you get ready. Get a picture with your boy.
Oh, that's
I'm
good.
right on the streets all the time, just about every day. If I'm in Cali, I'll be at that spot selling cars, doing taxes, and just living life, having fun. Hustling.
There it is. Listen, man, thank you so much for doing this. Thanks for telling your story again. I really, even though you've told it a bunch, and like I said, I've seen the documentaries and all this stuff, this still felt like I got a different understanding of.
Well, you asked some different questions. So
yeah, that was
definitely
the goal.
Was. Also, check out my artist too, and let me know what you think about him.
What's his name?
Naku. You can go on YouTube and Instagram and check him out. Also, he's on my pages as well.
What's his Instagram name?
Naku.
How do you spell it?
I can't spell.
Okay. We'll look it up. We'll put it in the notes.
Yeah. I'm also into boxing. I got a heavyweight fighter now, 17-0, and another younger fighter that's 2-0, and we just staying busy, man, having fun.
Yeah, we're gonna be hearing a lot more.
A lot
from
more.
Your way, I think.
A lot more.
There you go. Well, thank you, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
We did it.
That was great.
Good looking.
Guys, if you like that and you want to see more like it, as well as vlogs, other web series, and all the random stuff that I'm doing here on YouTube, don't forget to click that subscribe button. You won't regret it, I promise.